So now we're going to show you just really quickly some of our dashboards and examples of reports, because we do want to allow that 10-minute courtesy at the end for questions. And so this shows one of our student enrollment reports. And as you see, as I mentioned early on, the learning curve is so easy for someone that's new that begins in our department. We can tell them, go and run the student enrollment report, filter it on administration of justice majors, and send it to whomever is asking for it. This is something they can easily do. And so we see that it not only has the term, but you can select your respective school or college. And we actually have it where you can actually do a comparison term, because some areas like to compare one semester to another. So we actually have this one built in that regard. This is an example of what the report looks like off that student enrollment data block. You can see we have so many variables that people have asked for, and other things that people haven't asked for. I distinctly remember one area said, you know, this is too many columns. This is way too many columns. And so we would share with them, you can download it on your computer, and then you can delete any fields you deem are not necessary. Interestingly enough, a couple of times that same area came back and said, well, do you have any data on, you know, first generation college students? And we would just politely tell them, well, if you scroll over to column Z, you'll see it says first generation college students. It's already there in the report. And so a lot of training, a lot of reprogramming came with introducing a lot of these dashboards. I'll turn your attention to column W and column X. This is where I'm talking about the whole business process change, right? So we have degree works. Areas are using degree works, but if we don't have concentrations and minor assigned in our database, then students' degree audits will not read properly. And so this is something that we're able to share with areas. Hey, let's look at this. Let's look at this list. Let's look at these students. If they're supposed to have a concentration, make sure it's assigned in Banner so that it reads properly. This is an example of what Keshona mentioned earlier, our executive dashboard. We have one. If you see the headers at the top, one deals with admission. This one is our enrollment. And so it gives the executive areas on campus a very high level so they can see on a daily basis, run it however frequently they want to by semester. Where are we with students registering? How does that compare to the comparative day from the prior year? And when we say the comparative day, this is not measuring the specific date, but literally the comparison date. So if you run this a week before the semester starts, that comparison day is a week before the semester started last year. So you have like comparisons that you're doing. It's also important that we shared the official census date. So we have the comparison term official day as well over here in the left column. We also have a summary of credit hours, so areas can see credit hours, and then just those standard things that you look at referring to the schools and colleges, as well as first-time freshmen. This gives a high-level view of our admissions dashboard. So again, at any time, someone can come in and run and say, hey, we want to know how many students were admitted to the university. They can look at this information. They can see how many were first-time freshmen, how many were transfer students. What does our yield rate look like at any given period? And so this actually shows a whole data integrity, data cleanup process that we were able to use. So this is a synopsis from that same executive dashboard. And this shows our College of Liberal Arts and Behavioral Sciences, but you'll see that there's a math student that was included in here. So this allows areas to have a data cleanup before we certify data, and we catch these edits kind of early on in the semester. My office uses this, and very early in the semester, we'll run this, we'll provide the name of those students, and we'll provide it to the registrar and say, hey, this college is assigned, this major is assigned to the wrong college. And therein, again, lies the opportunity to improve business processes. So this is just a human data entry error, right? But can we automate this process so that when one enters a major, then it automatically populates the school and college, so we don't have to worry about those data input errors. So those are other business processes that we were able to improve. And then this just shows you a persistence rates chart, which compares various schools and colleges. And so in the last chart, you can see the dark blue actually represents the percent of students that came back in the spring, and the next bar represents the percent of students that came back overall in the light blue. And then the kind of darker orange shows if they came back and they remained in the respective school and college. And then the last bar shows, did they actually matriculate to sophomore status? So we can see here in this last bar in orange, yes, 56% came back, but only 34% matriculated to sophomore status. Now we're having higher and deeper conversations with those areas to understand the data that they have available and what's going on. This is just a nice graphic to show you how we showed everybody how they fit into those respective areas to continue having those very rich conversations. We have to be partners. We have to collaborate with one another to make sure that we're able to assist one another as needed. This is a course dashboard, which definitely led to a lot of rich conversation about, are we assigning courses to the right classrooms? Here we have, with the blue box around it, we're showing what the maximum enrollment was assigned. We're showing the room capacity, and we're showing how many students were currently enrolled in that class. So now we can have conversations about what percent of these classes are full. What is our room capacity? Again, this kind of led to us acquiring an additional application that allows us to do automated scheduling of our classes so that we're maximizing that. And then the last data slide that I have to show with this dashboard is a dashboard of our continuing students. So again, you're able to do a comparison. And when these bars populate, you can actually click on this bar and it will populate the student list at the bottom that shows you these are the students that are eligible to register that have not done so. These are the students that have registered for a future term. These are the students that have actually graduated. So that may be a reason why they didn't register, because they've graduated. But this is a very interesting, the last block of students that have registered, but they have blocks that prevent registration. So we can click on that bar, it'll populate down in the table below, and then you can actually do some type of reach out initiative to research what's going on with these students. How can we help them? How can we remove those barriers?